But let's really focus on cost per sale and the amount of time we spent, because you're not going to have reliable data to make decisions off of unless you let the leads marinate. Any good griller knows marination is going to take time. You can't marinate it in 2 minutes. So same thing with the leads. Your perfect marination time to kind of the middle of the cycle is about 45 days.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
Right now, while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
We took our notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies led Craig and I to selling more than $10 million in premium in the last 2 years.
On this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the same results.
Just go to live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
If you jump on this call with us, we're certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.
Hello, this is Craig Pretzinger. You are on the Insurance Dudes podcast, and this is another playbook, agency playbook for you. We're going to get into internet leads again here over the next few episodes that I'm going to produce. So buckle up and sit back and get ready to go. We're going to look at 4 of the biggest mistakes. In fact, all 4 of these things must be avoided or must be implemented. The opposite of them must be implemented in order to get results from internet leads. Now, before we dive into that, I want to set it up real quick with a real interesting backstory. And I wonder if this is going to resonate with a lot of folks out there. Likely you're on this, you listen to the Insurance Dudes podcast because you're interested in improving and potentially finding those little nuggets that we are able to extract from our interviews, or even if we provide a little bit of nuggets when we're doing these playbooks. A, we hope that you're getting some valuable information, but B, we know that if you're here, then you are looking for something that's going to work. And so this is probably going to resonate with you. I know that I've tried over the years many, many different marketing strategies, many times have ended up or resulted in failure. And a lot of them have to do with not executing on these 4 things here. But if anybody's read, I believe it's from the 12-Hour Work Week, the optimism, pessimism scale, we talk about it in our webinar a little bit. But it's kind of like why stuff never works. You know, when we start with something, we get super excited, and when we're ready to go and we want to get into it, and we're running, and then it doesn't happen as quickly as we want. So we go from this level of super excited, ready to rock and roll, more coherent in understanding the thing we're using, but now we're not quite as certain or excited or optimistic as we were in the beginning. Right. So we know more, but because we're not seeing the results, we're starting to get a little pessimistic about it. And eventually what happens is we hit this bottom, and at that bottom, we either dig in and make it work or we give up. And oftentimes my experience was, hey, it's not working. You know, I was really excited, but it's not working anymore. Throw in the towel. I'm going to find the next thing. So what we want to do for you guys, everybody listening to this, all the insurance dudes and dudettes out there, is hopefully help to eliminate that entire curve, right? We want to break the cycle. We want to break the cycle of super excited. It's not quite working. I give up. Because what we found is typically, and now that we've had hundreds and hundreds of clients with Teledudes, we see everybody enters successful. Or I'm sorry, everybody enters super optimistic. And we've gotten really good at managing expectations because the inputs that we put into the thing are what dictate the results and how much effort and all of the different things that we're going to get into. But it's critical to what's interesting that we've seen along the way is that whether or not the person gets success, what happens is at that bottom, when it's they've now passed this part of I kind of get it, but it's not really working. When it gets to this intolerable pain, and it's not always the case, but when it gets to that point, it is often that point right then that if we eject, we just missed the boat. So I encourage anybody trying anything, any marketing strategy, to be aware that as humans, as soon as something gets uncomfortable, we're going to move to avoid that pain, right? We're much quicker to avoid pain than we are to move to pleasure, which is success. So really, really important there. And that's with anything. You know, if it's starting to get a little uncomfortable and painful, you're probably getting close. And that's an important thing. So the first thing, and this is totally in line with that piece of it, is with internet leads. So when we're buying internet leads, we go in with this expectation, okay, I need to find an ROI. I need to get back the money that I'm putting into this, or it's just a cost and it's not working. Well, what a majority of agents do is underestimate the time that it takes to get the results from the leads. Anybody that's been on the webinar knows we show the bell curve over the historical results of what it takes. It's going to be about a 90-day, right? The safe life of an internet lead is 90 days because they're fully opted in. If you're buying the right kind of leads from a dependable and trustable source, then we're going to have a 90-day opted-in digital certificate that accompanies that lead that the carrier has, or not the carrier, the lead company has on their file. So we're looking at a 90-day cycle, which means somewhere closer to the middle, sometimes it's a little before, sometimes it's a little after, is the point that we're closing business. Sure, we're going to get a lead in some cases, or even on the daily, depending on how many leads we're buying. But we're going to get a lead. We're going to actually make contact with them that day. We're going to actually quote them that day, and we're going to actually close them. That will happen, but that's only going to happen a very small percentage of the time. So what we, and it was my experience, I remember the first 5 different times, separate instances that I bought internet leads, probably all the way up until 2017, 2018, was I buy the leads because everybody's buying the leads, or the vendor calls and I get sold on some program, and we buy the leads. We call them a few times. We don't get a hold of anybody. We don't sell any of them. And then we say, these leads are the worst. And we get rid of them and we stop calling them. And we think, just waste another $2,000 on leads. And what was important in this, if I can take away from my experience and my failures with internet leads, is it is important that we do the long play, right? So we're buying consistently. We'll get into those pieces, but right now we want to focus on the time. It is incredibly important to realize that as we're calculating, we're tracking and measuring our cost per sale, right? Because that's the most important part, not the price of the lead. The most important part is the cost per sale. Of course, you're going to want to be in the ballpark of $5, $6, $7 for a lead. Anything more, it's not going to end in a good cost per sale. Anything much less, you may have a quality issue. Sure, we can find some deals out there that are $2, $3, $4, but you really want to keep your eye on those, on your 30-day number, your 60-day number, your 90-day cost per sale, to see if you have those results. That is the key with all of them, right? Is we have to let the leads bake. As one of our good friends, George Carbonell, says, we have to let those leads marinate, right? Once the leads have been called many times, and it's been enough time, then we can make a decision on whether or not these are quote unquote good leads or these leads suck, right? And this all comes from giving it time, right? Which is probably one of the most challenging things emotionally to handle, because we're spending. And, the lead company is saying it's going to take time. If you're with teledudes, we're going to tell you, hey, those telemarketers are going to have to call for quite a while before it really starts to pick up. And that's only at the beginning, right? Then once you have a pipeline, you don't take your foot off the gas, so on and so forth. So the first mistake to avoid is not giving leads enough time to marinate, because if we don't, we're never going to be able to drive down that cost per sale. Just some quick numbers for you. With internet leads, you can expect a cost per sale, all the way up to $1,000, $1,200 in the first few days, in the first week. What we'll see is over time, as those leads continue to get called, but we're looking at the 1 week, at the 2 week, at the 30-day mark, you should be down much lower than that initial heart-stopping cost per sale. And then in 60 days, it's going to be even less. In 90 days, we're looking for somewhere around that $200 to, anywhere between $100 and $200 as a cost per sale. If you can get it under 100, whoa, right? Then you're going to pour gas on it. But let's really focus on cost per sale and the amount of time we spent, because you're not going to have reliable data to make decisions off of unless you let the leads marinate. Any good griller knows marination is going to take time. You can't marinate it in 2 minutes. So same thing with the leads. Your perfect marination time to kind of the middle of the cycle is about 45 days. That, my friends, is the first of 4 really, really important key elements of internet leads so you can get results. And the mistake would be not giving them enough time. We will see you on the flip side.
Hey, what are you still doing here?
Well, while you're still here and while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
Yeah, if you weren't listening before, we took notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies did help Craig and I write over 10 million in premium in the last couple years.
And let me tell you, on this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the very same results.
Again, that's live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
And if you jump on with us, we are certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.